Good morning. I'm back. We have 2 days left because I've decided to do a little doubling up. This one makes sense because it's the last off, the very first of all my stories, and its sequel, The Co-op. So we're going to do those today, and then tomorrow we're going to do Most Wanted, which is almost my newest release, and Murder on Martha's Vineyard, which is my newest release, and also has recently unseated Sharks in the Street as my bestseller. So it's very exciting. Thanks to everyone who's reading it and buying it because it is amazing, the response that I've received. So let's get started today with The Last Op. Chapter 1, The Players. College sophomore Krista James sat in her news writing and reporting class, paying close attention as her professor began teaching them how to write a proper investigative piece. She knew that it was what she wanted to do when she graduated within the next year and a half, so she was ready to soak everything in like a sponge. Professor Jones was showing them a slideshow featuring different techniques for investigative journalism, and she was furiously writing down notes. As the class neared its end, Professor Jones got very serious. Class, I have an announcement to make. I've chosen to retire early, and you will have a new professor when you come back to class next Monday. He comes very highly recommended, and I know that some of you have had me for multiple classes in your time here, and I'm very sorry that I won't be here to see you finish your studies. If any of you need me for anything, please take down my cell number, he said as he began writing it down on the board. I wish you all the best. See you around, he finished as he exited the classroom before anyone could try to say a proper goodbye to him. Krista was shocked that he was retiring, but she had another class to run to, so she didn't have much time to sit there and wonder or try to track him down. She gathered her things and headed out to her next class, which was feature writing. Her friend Amelia was in that class, and luckily she was already there. Did you hear about Professor Jones? Krista asked as she sat down next to her friend. Amelia shook her head. No, what are you talking about? She was already whispering because the teacher in this class was a hard ass. Krista quieted her own voice. He announced his retirement at the end of class, but it starts today, and they already have a replacement lined up. If they were looking, wouldn't they have mentioned his plans? Do you think the university kicked him out? She asked, but before she could say anything else, the teacher was ready to start class. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the CIA, Agent Edward Dario was nearing retirement himself, but he was heading to his senior officer's office for his last assignment. What do you have for me? He growled as he took a seat across from Agent Goodwin. Goodwin smiled. I think you're really going to enjoy your last field op. We are sending you to a university to convince one of its students, to join the CIA. A basic recruitment? That doesn't sound all that exciting, he said, frowning. Goodwin leaned forward against her desk. It is the farthest from basic. We approached this girl last year because she's been continuously at the top of her class, and she grew up in the Middle East for a time, so she's fluent in Arabic. When our agent reached out to her, she expressed zero interest and requested that we never approach her again. We think that if you go in as her professor and flirt a little, you can gain her trust and get her to join the team, she explained. Dario laughed, almost snorting, as he took in what Goodwin was saying. You think you're going to send me in at my age and some young college girl is going to want to go out with me? Why not send a young buck, he suggested, still trying to gather his emotions. Goodwin leaned back in her chair. You have the most experience in these delicate scenarios, and we have done our research on this girl. She's into older guys, and she's posted on her social media accounts how much she'd like to have a professor worth dating on campus. You are exactly what she's looking for. If you accept the job, then you'll need to get down there by Saturday so you can conveniently run into her at one of her favorite clubs without letting her know you are her professor yet, and just getting her interested. Here's her file. Are you in? Dario took the file and nodded as he exited the office, his face still showing the same smirk from moments ago at the idea that this mission will even work. Back at the university, Krista walked into her dorm after a long day of classes to find Amelia already there waiting. Mill, I know you wanted to go out tonight, but can we do it tomorrow? I am worn out and I would much rather just watch a show, maybe binge one and eat snack food. Does that work? Krista asked as she slung her backpack into the closet. Amelia smiled at her friend and replied, That is completely fine with me. What should we do? Want to stay up all night watching? Krista thought for a moment before answering. How about Gilmore Girls? You can pick which season we start with. Her voice was filled with excitement. Amelia laughed out loud. I vote for season 4. We should probably head to Target really quick to stock up on goodies for our viewing party. Do you want to drive, or would you like me to? You drive. Let's go grab some Doritos and Oreos. Krista jumped up to grab her purse. Back in D.C., Dario was in his loft alone packing his bags. He was reviewing the file to see what type of class he'd be in charge of. News writing, he said to himself, flipping the pages before stumbling upon a print out of Krista's social media accounts. This is what he needed to read to get to know more about her. She loved animals, and according to her Twitter, she was a huge animal rights advocate, primarily for killer whales and sharks. Dario had no care in the world for sea life, and the more he dug into her file, the more he realized where he was going to have to start. She had terrible taste in movies and music, by his opinion. At the end of flipping through the file, he felt the mission was going to be impossible. Here's to my final hurrah, he said as he took a sip of his whiskey he'd been milking all night. Once he closed the file, he got up and continued picking out clothes so that he would be ready to look his best to charm this student. He felt that this may be the craziest mission the CIA had ever sent him on. All right, that's the end of chapter 1 of The Last Stop. I'm going to log off for just a minute, and then I will be back on for the co-op, which technically spoils the end of The Last Stop, so don't log in if you want to read The Last Stop first. All right, I'll be right back in just a minute, guys.